What if your greatest virtue, the very thing you are most proud of, your kindness, is actually the bait attracting the most dangerous and draining people into your life? Carl Jung, in his deep exploration of the human psyche, made a disturbing discovery about kind, gentle, and giving people. He found that their inner light doesn't just illuminate the world around them. It can also act as a brilliant, irresistible beacon for those who feed on that light. If you are someone who constantly finds yourself in relationships, with partners, with friends, with family, where you give everything you have and always end up feeling drained, betrayed, or taken for granted, I need you to listen closely. This is not just a string of bad luck. You are not simply too nice for your own good. It is far deeper than that. You are likely broadcasting a powerful, unconscious psychological signal, a frequency that you don't even know you're emitting. It's a signal that tells predators of the psyche, what Jung's work helps us identify as psychological vampires, that you are a perfect source, a perfect target. You are the one who stays on the phone for hours listening to their problems, but when you have a bad day, they're suddenly too busy. You are the one who lends money you can't afford to spare, and then feel guilty asking for it back. You are the one who absorbs their rage, their chaos, and their negativity, and then somehow you end up apologizing. This pattern is not your fate. It is a symptom of a deep, unexamined aspect of your own kindness. Today, I will reveal why your specific type of kindness is a magnet for these predators. We will uncover the 4 unconscious signals you are sending out right now that make you a target. And most importantly, I will share Jung's powerful, life-altering method to transform your kindness from a vulnerability that invites exploitation into an impenetrable shield that protects your soul. It's time to stop being a feast for others and start nourishing yourself. This discovery wasn't born from a single dramatic case, but from a quiet, repeating tragedy Jung observed over and over in his practice. He documented numerous cases of patients who were, by all external measures, saints. They were the pillars of their communities, the generous friend, the selfless mother, the ever-accommodating colleague. They were the ones you could always count on, the ones who never said no. Yet, when the door to Jung's office closed, they would describe private lives that were a barren landscape of emotional devastation. They were married to narcissists who belittled them. They were relentlessly exploited by friends who saw them as a resource, not a person. They were emotionally drained by family members who had turned them into a dumping ground for all their unresolved trauma. These kind souls would sit across from Jung, their bodies slumped with a weariness that went far beyond simple fatigue. It was a soul exhaustion. They would describe their profound feeling of being invisible, of their own needs and desires being completely transparent to those they served. And beneath it all was a deep, gnawing shame, because they had been conditioned to believe it was somehow their fault. "Maybe I'm just not kind enough," they would say, their voices barely a whisper. "If I just gave a little more, maybe they would finally appreciate me." They were trapped in a devastating cycle. The more they gave, the emptier they felt. The emptier they felt, the more they believed they needed to give to finally earn the love they so freely offered. It was in witnessing this paradox, these outwardly perfect people living in private hells of their own making, that Jung had his revelation. Their problem wasn't a lack of kindness. It was an excess of unconscious kindness. A kindness completely disconnected from their own needs, their own anger, their own right to exist. It was a kindness that had no boundaries, and therefore no value. Jung had famously written, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." For these good and gentle patients, their fate was to be a perpetual, inexhaustible resource for others, a well from which everyone drank, never once stopping to ask if the well itself was running dry. So why does this happen? Why does your goodness seem to attract the very people who will abuse it? Jung discovered that the answer lies not in your light, but in the shadow that your light casts. He found that individuals who deny their own capacity for so-called negative emotions, people who refuse to acknowledge their own anger, their own selfishness, their own right to set firm boundaries, are unconsciously projecting an aura of what I call limitless supply. It's a silent, psychic signal that you are a person without an edge, without a stopping point. And psychological predators, the emotional vampires of our world, have a primal, animalistic instinct for this signal. They may not know it consciously, but they can sense a person who will not say no. They can feel a person who will absorb their negativity without pushing back. And most crucially, they are drawn like a magnet to a person who will, when hurt, ultimately blame themselves for the predator's own bad behavior. You become the perfect host because you will never identify them as the parasite. Jung warned, "The brighter the light, the darker the shadow." When you identify only with your good side, with the kind, giving, selfless part of you, your repressed shadow doesn't just disappear. It festers in your unconscious. And from there, it communicates. It unconsciously signals to the world a desperate neediness for validation. It signals an inability to defend yourself. It signals that your self-worth is dependent on how much you can do for others. And this combination of a bright, giving light and a weak, undefended perimeter is absolutely irresistible to a psychological vampire. Imagine a beautiful home, filled with warmth and treasures, with its doors thrown wide open and no locks to be found. It's a wonderfully welcoming sight for honest visitors and good-hearted friends. But for a thief, it is not a welcoming home. It is an open invitation. It is an opportunity too good to pass up. Your unboundaried, unconscious kindness is that open door. And you keep wondering why your house keeps getting robbed. This signal you're sending out isn't a mystical force. It's broadcast through your everyday behaviors. These are the 4 unconscious signals that tell a psychological vampire that you are a safe and plentiful source of supply. As I go through them, don't judge yourself. Simply observe. See if you recognize yourself in these patterns. Signal number 1, the compulsion to justify. You believe you need a valid reason to say no. When you can't make it to an event, you write a long paragraph explaining why. When you need a day to yourself, you feel the need to apologize for it. You are constantly explaining your decisions and justifying your own needs as if they are an inconvenience to the world. This signals to a predator that your boundaries are not solid. They are negotiable. It tells them that with enough pressure, guilt, or manipulation, your no can be turned into a yes. Signal number 2, the fear of conflict. You avoid disagreements at all costs. You will literally silence your own perceptions to maintain a false sense of peace. Someone says something that hurts you and you swallow it. You see a red flag and you pretend it's beige. A vampire sees this not as a desire for peace, but as a complete surrender. It tells them, in no uncertain terms, that they can cross your boundaries without any consequence. You have shown them that your comfort is less important than their desire, and they will take full advantage of that knowledge. Signal number 3, over-empathizing with bad behavior. This is one of the most subtle and dangerous signals. You consistently find excuses for people who hurt you. He yelled at you, but he's just stressed at work. She betrayed your trust, but she had a really tough childhood. Jung recognized this not as empathy, but as a deep refusal to see the shadow in others, precisely because you refuse to acknowledge it in yourself. By excusing their darkness, you become the perfect enabler. You signal that you are willing to carry the burden of their behavior, and they will gladly let you. And signal number 4, the need to be the helper. Your identity, your sense of self-worth, is deeply wrapped up in being the one who fixes, saves, or heals others. You are drawn to broken people. But predators are not just broken. They are perpetual projects who have absolutely no intention of ever being fixed. They don't want to be healed. They just want the endless energy, attention, and validation that comes from being someone's reclamation project. You think you are a healer, but to them, you are simply the supply. and they are drawn to your helper signal like a moth to a consuming flame. If you recognize yourself in these signals, the first thing you must feel is not shame, but hope, because the moment you see the pattern, you gain the power to break it. Jung's solution to this devastating cycle is not to become cold, bitter, or selfish. It is not about building walls around your heart. It is about transforming the very nature of your kindness. The goal is to achieve what he called shadow integration, a process that leads to the birth of something beautiful and powerful, conscious kindness. This is how you do it. Phase 1. Acknowledge your shadow. This is the most courageous step. You must give yourself permission to have and to feel so-called negative emotions. It is okay to feel anger when you are mistreated. It is okay to feel selfish when you prioritize your own time and energy. It is okay to dislike someone without needing a logical reason. Jung taught that acknowledging your own capacity for darkness is the only way to control it. When you accept that you too have a shadow, a part of you that can be angry, assertive, and even ruthless if necessary, you stop being afraid of it in others. You integrate it, and it becomes your protector. Phase 2. Practice strategic no's. You cannot go from being a chronic people pleaser to a boundary master overnight. You must build the muscle. Start by saying no to small, low-stakes requests. When a coworker asks for a favor you don't have time for, say, "I'm sorry, I can't do that right now." And then stop talking. Do not justify, do not explain, do not apologize. No is a complete sentence. Each time you do this, you are rewiring your brain. You are teaching yourself, on a cellular level, that your energy is a finite and precious resource, and you are its sole guardian. And phase 3, reclaim your projections. This step requires deep honesty. The next time you feel that overwhelming compulsive urge to save someone, to fix their life, to heal their pain, I want you to stop and ask yourself one question. What part of me am I actually trying to save right now? Often our desperate compulsion to help others is a projection of our own unaddressed wounds. We are trying to give them the support we never received. We are trying to heal them to prove that we are worthy. Stop. Turn that powerful healing energy back onto yourself. Heal your own wounds first. Become your own savior. When you begin to integrate your shadow and practice this conscious kindness, the change in your life will be profound. It won't be loud or aggressive. It will be a quiet, seismic shift in your reality. Your kindness, once a soft, pliable thing that could be easily molded by others, becomes something different. It becomes powerful. It becomes crystalline. It is now offered as a conscious choice, a deliberate gift, not as an unconscious compulsion driven by a need for validation. And the predators of the psyche, the emotional vampires, will begin to avoid you. They will sense, on a primal, energetic level, that something has fundamentally changed. They will feel the strength behind your smile. They will see the boundary in your eyes. They will understand, without a word being spoken, that the all-you-can-eat buffet is permanently closed. Your relationships will undergo a great and necessary purification. The takers, the drainers, the perpetual victims, they will fall away. They will accuse you of having changed. They will call you selfish. And you will smile, knowing that you have finally become selfish enough to survive. And in the space they leave behind, something new will grow. You will be left with people who respect your boundaries, not because they have to, but because they respect you. People who value your kindness because they see it for the precious, intentional gift it now is. People who are drawn not to your vulnerability, but to your strength. You will no longer attract vampires because you no longer emit the signal of a victim. You have healed the wound that they could smell from a mile away. You will finally understand that your kindness was never the problem. Your unconscious relationship with your kindness was the vulnerability. By integrating your shadow, by embracing your own right to say no, by learning to love yourself as fiercely as you love others, your kindness is no longer a weakness. It has been forged in the fires of self-awareness, and it has become your superpower. If you are a kind person who has felt drained, used, and misunderstood, and you are ready to transform your kindness from a vulnerability into your greatest strength, then make a declaration to yourself and to the universe right now. Write in the comments, "My kindness is conscious." It's more than just words. It is an affirmation of your new path. It is a signal that you are taking back control of your energy. And please, share this video with one other kind person in your life who you know needs to hear this message. Let's stop letting the best people in the world get consumed by darkness. If you are ready to continue this journey, to explore the depths of psychology, not to fear the darkness, but to understand it and harness its power for your own evolution, then subscribe and join our community of conscious individuals. We are all here to learn, to grow, and to become the most powerful, integrated versions of ourselves. Thank you for watching. See you in the next dimension.